name's Jack, and today we have Dehancer Pro. Dehancer Pro is a film emulation software that tries to make your footage look a bit more organic, a bit more filmic. Now, full disclosure, Dehancer did send me a 1-month trial to kind of test, review, and give my honest feedback. If you are interested in picking up Dehancer Pro, promo code Jack, you get 10% off, and it kind of helps me as a creator get some money back from that. On with color grade. We've got 2 clips here. One's going to be a little bit brighter, and then the other one's going to be a little bit moodier. So to start off with, we're going to start with our node tree. So we're going to hit Option S, and then we're going to add 4 nodes here. And then one more, Option S, and then Option P on that node. And then we're going to hit Option S and then add 3 more nodes. And now we're just going to clean up the node tree here. Okay. And then we're going to go through and label our nodes. This will be your noise reduction. I'm not going to use noise reduction for these 2 clips because they're pretty noise free. But again, if that's something you need to do with your footage, then that's where I would put it. Next would be your white balance, and then next is exposure. Contrast is your next one. This top node here, I like to have as my skin. And then this bottom one here, you can kind of use it for kind of masking of whatever kind of colors that you may want to get rid of or kind of change. So that's up to you. This one is going to be your CTS, or color space transform. Moving on down, we got Dehancer is going to be here, and then this is going to be your sharpen / soften right there. You know, depending on if you want your footage to be a little bit sharper or you want to soften it to make it a bit more filmic. Okay, so once we've done that, we're going to start with our color space transform. Now, all this footage was shot on the Panasonic Lumix S5 Mark II X. It was shot in Vlog, so we're going to convert this footage from Vlog. So that's VGamma. And then this is Vlog, and then coming on down, this is going to be Rec 709, and then we're going to convert it to Cineon Film Log, which is right there. Okay, next we're going to come to our Dehancer node, which we're going to drag and drop that onto there. And then again, we're going to choose Cineon Film Log here. Now I'm going to change the film to Ektachrome E100 2017 like that, and then the print I'm also going to change here, and I'm going to change that to Kodak 2383 like so. Now obviously this footage is pretty overexposed, so the first things first is I'm going to drop the exposure down. So we're going to keep dropping it down. Something around there, I think. I'm also going to quickly come over back to our Dehancer node and just turn the film grain off, because that takes quite a lot of processing power, so I'm going to turn that off for now. Okay, after exposure, I'm just going to adjust the white balance. I'm going to use this eyedropper tool and just use my shirt here, for example. Kind of got a good exposure, but I might add a little bit of warmth in. Something about there, and then maybe just a little bit more tint of green, something like that. Okay, and now our contrast. Now you can do it a few ways. You can use your kind of contrast slider here. I'm not going to use that. I'm going to come to my curves here, and then I'm going to just give it a very, very, very slight curve. And then I'll probably adjust more settings once we get back to Dehancer. Okay, now we're going to kind of work our way down in the Dehancer. So exposure, again, might leave it like that. Not going to worry about temperature in here. Push-pull EV, let's see. Gonna make it around about there, I think. I'm not going to worry about film developer too much. I'm going to come to film compression. Now, this is one of my favorite tools. I really like this tonal range here. Kind of just helps bring back the dynamic range, or bring down those highlights so that you can see in the highlights, so nothing's too overexposed. So something like around there, I think. And then let's just see what we can do with our white point here. Maybe something like that. And then color density, I'm just going to bring up slightly here. Okay, now the expand tool. I'm just going to have a look at the blacks here. Maybe bring those up again. Something about there. And then the white points, again, reduce those slightly so they're a little less harsh. Coming down to our print, we got our target white. Kind of want a bit more of the warm side here. Exposure EV, not going to worry about that too much. And then another tonal contrast here. Again, I'm going to maybe bring this one up here slightly, like that, maybe. Color density, maybe bring that up a bit more. And then the analog range limiter, I'm going to check that on. Kind of helps to reduce the contrast a little bit, as you can see there. I kind of like it. It gives a bit more of that kind of film look. Okay, color head. So I'm not going to worry about the top too much, but I'm going to use the tools down here. There's quite a bit of like a blue, kind of bluish tint to my t-shirt here, which I kind of want to get rid of. And there's a bit more of a bluish tint to my skin tones here. So I'm going to kind of bring the warmth back in here. And then just about there. Something like that. I'm happy with that. Okay, midtones. Just gonna slightly drop those down. Put a bit more blue, and then maybe bring back our shadow tone back up a little bit. Okay, something like that. And highlights. I don't think I'm gonna worry too much about the highlights. I might just add a little bit of warmth. Okay, that's good. Okay, film grain. Starting from the top, this is going to be 8mm. It's going to be your more intense kind of film grain. And then obviously the higher ISO is going to be even more intense. So if I click on that one, for example, and I enable that, it's quite an intense. I personally like to use the custom settings. I just find that I like my film grain to be a little more subtle. So I'm going to drag this down like so, and then we're going to keep that around 85 and bring our midtones and our highlights down here. Just bring the shadows down slightly so it's very slight, and then just bring it all the way down. Okay, and then leave that as positive. I'm not as big of a fan of the negative. It kind of looks a bit more natural on positive. Halation, again, starting from the top. 8mm is going to be stronger, no remjet even stronger. Essentially what no remjet means is remjet was essentially a filter that would help get rid of halation. So if there's no remjet, it's essentially getting rid of that filter. So if I click on that, you can see it's kind of very noticeable, a bit more pronounced. I am going to make it a lot less noticeable. I'm going to come to 35 and maybe even reduce it slightly more after that. Something around there, maybe. Okay, perfect. Bloom, kind of like your Pro Mist filter. Kind of helps to soften those highlights there. You can see in my head right here that it's kind of softening the hot spots there. I think I'm going to leave it as is. I quite enjoy that. Again, 8mm being more noticeable, 65 being less noticeable, for example. Quite like 35 though. Film damage, not going to worry about that too much, and all the rest I'm not going to worry about it too much. Now you can add it's kind of like a black bars in a way, like a film kind of look to it. If that's something you would like, you know, there's so many different options here. If I scale this one up, I quite like this one, but for this particular grade I'm not going to add it. So I'm going to disable that, and then lastly I'm going to come down to vignette and just add a slight vignette like that, just to help reduce some of those harsher highlight tones. Okay, so there's kind of my grade, my first grade. I quite like it. I might even just come in and just look at my skin tones quickly, just make sure they're okay. Just come in here and just adjust these so it's only targeting my skin, like something like that. And then I can even just bring, because the saturation on my skin's quite a lot, so just make it a little bit less saturated, something about there maybe. And I can even just come in and just double check to make sure my skin tones are in the right area. It just needs to be brought over to the side a little bit, something like that, and just bring that up slightly. And then again, it's a little bit saturated again, so I'm just going to bring some of that saturation down a bit. So there's kind of my first grade. Okay, now we're going to move on to a bit more of a moodier grade. I've already set up that same node tree as the last time. So again, just working the same way as we did before. First, it's going to be your color space transform, like so. We're going to just come down to our Panasonic V gamut, and then the next one will be Vlog, and then it's going to be Rec 709, and then Cineon Film Log again, like so. And then I'm going to drag and drop Dehancer on, and then Cineon Film Log. And then we're going to change this to CineStill 800T, T standing for tungsten. And that's going to be the start of our grade. Again, I'm going to turn off the film grain for now. And then I think I'm going to put, let's see. I think for this one I'll use Enduro glossy paper. Okay, and then now obviously this footage isn't as overexposed as the last one, so I'm going to start with the white balance first. Again, I'm going to use my eyedropper tool, just kind of get that nice white balance. Okay, that's good for me. Maybe the exposure, depending on how moody I want it, I might just bring it down slightly again. And kind of almost crush those blacks a little bit, maybe bring some of those shadows back up just for my skin tones, and then also bring down those highlights, something around there I think looks good. Contrast, again, I don't think I need to go too crazy because it's already a pretty contrasty scene, so something around there, and I might just bring those highlights down here again, something like that. Okay, gonna skip the skin tones for now, not gonna worry about those. Gonna come back to your Dehancer, gonna leave all of this, just gonna work on the push-pull EV. Kind of give that a bluier tint there. Coming on to our film developer, I'm actually going to leave that one again. Film compression. Again, we're going to work with a tonal range here. Something like that. Hold on, just bring those highlights down somewhere in the middle. That's good. Now expand tool. Might bring some of those shadows back and then bring down again those whites a little bit. Okay, moving on down to our print. Gonna just bring back some of those shadows maybe. Okay, and then again there's the analog range limiter. Hold on, I might just add some color density here. Analog range limiter, kind of see it kind of reduces that contrast slightly. For this, I think I'm gonna add it, just adds a little bit. Coming down, I'm gonna use our shadows, midtones, and highlight tone again. So the highlights, start with those first. Gonna add kind of a cooler tone to those. The midtones, it's kind of affecting our highlights too, so somewhere in the middle I think. And then our shadow tones, gonna keep those relatively warm because I don't want them to go too blue. Something like that. Okay. Coming down, film grain again. I would select custom. Then let's just bring down everything like so. And film resolution we'll bring up to 85. Okay. And then just bring everything down again, something like that. Make sure it's on positive. Again, just gives it a bit more of a organic film grain rather than a little bit more natural. Halation, I am gonna work my way through and see. It's not so bad. A little bit too much. Okay, maybe just reduce that slightly, kind of like the 8mm, just so you can see it on the kind of touch screen or the screen of the car here, and then on the kind of speedo and stuff like that. Bloom, you can see it again, kind of affecting those highlights there. Okay, I'm gonna leave that like that, and then I actually might choose. Let's have a look. Let's choose the 65 there. A little bit less noticeable. Again, film damage, not gonna worry about that. Film breath, not gonna worry about that. The rest I'm not gonna add, but I will add probably a vignette. Just get that exposure down. Make sure it's kind of drawn into me driving the car there. Okay, there you go. There's kind of a more moody look to it. Again, if you want to work on your skin tones and kind of adjust them, you can come to your... my favorite way of doing it is coming to Magic Mask, and this just helps kind of get your skin tones here. Like so. If I just show you the mask here. There you go. You can kind of work on it from there. However, I don't think my skin tones are too bad in this, and I quite actually like the colors of the skin tones. I think it fits in well with the scene. So I'm gonna leave it there. Those are my two grades. You kind of got one quite bright, and then one a bit more moody. Now, what are some of the disadvantages to Dehancer? Well, one is the price. It's $449 USD, which is not the cheapest. And here in Canada, that's about 610 Canadian dollars, which again is quite a lot of money. The second is if you don't have the most powerful kind of computer, it will kind of slow it down. However, I believe they say it's optimized for the new silicone Apple Macs. And yeah, that's the main disadvantages. Now, would I recommend Dehancer Pro? I think so, yeah. I really enjoy the grading process. I found it a lot quicker than I would normally grade. There's so many different tools that can kind of help you grade faster. And overall, I was pretty happy with the results I got. so I will probably continue to use it in the future. Anyway, thanks for watching.